up, everybody? Welcome back to What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Gettin Grizzly Wit It, or Keeping It Grizzly if you ask Chris. I've heard Chris say Keeping It Grizzly so many times that I might as well just change the name of the pod. Obviously, I can't remember the name that I picked, so that's what we're gonna roll with. First, let me just cover base. I have no voice. As I talk about in this podcast, me and my fiance won floor seats to the Grizzlies versus Warriors matchup last night. I believe it was March 18th. It was a great game. If my voice doesn't reflect it, then I have a few videos.
Throw me your mouth guard, Steph!
And obviously a rundown or two about what I observed from the game.
Draymond, do a podcast about making free throws!
What I've gotten from the Warriors over the past month or so, and the Grizzlies as well. A lot of stuff's transpired in the Grizzlies organization since my last video, between injuries, all the job stuff, which I'm going to go ahead and let you know now if you're tuning into this, anticipating me talking about anything that's related to Ja Morant over the past month, and you're not going to get it. I'll touch base a little bit, but there's not going to be any opinions. I'm not spreading falsified news or gossip. So with that being said, we can go and get into the video. This could be shorter than my first one. My first one, I covered kind of an introductory period, and I kind of did a little bit of like interactive stuff. So start this real quick by saying shout out to Ja Morant. Computer down a little bit so we get the computers like blocking line sight. Be back with the team tomorrow after an 8-game suspension. A lot of people thought he wasn't going to be back. I knew he'd be back. A lot of people knew he'd be back. Get straight into the game from last night. If you're a human with a Twitter app and you live on planet Earth, you're more than likely familiar with the turmoil between the rival Memphis Grizzlies and Golden State Warriors. For those who are more familiar besides the past 2 or 3 seasons, this goes back pretty far. I'm a really big Grizzlies fan, and I'm a really not big Warriors fan. Not a fan of the Warriors at all. You gotta give credit where credit's due. The Warriors have been asserting their dominance for roughly almost a decade now. So long that this team actually had bad blood with the Grit and Grind Grizzlies, or the very end of the Grit and Grind Grizzlies in their 2015 title run. I honestly believe it was the toughest series they had during that entire playoffs. I think the Warriors even have acknowledged that on a couple occasions as well. Like, that Grizzlies team really kind of taught them what it was going to take to win a title. I mean, even though that Grizzlies team never won a championship, that was a really hard team to beat. Over the past 3 seasons, quick rundown. Since Ja Morant's been drafted, the Grizzlies, knocked the Warriors out of playoff contention in 2021. I'm sorry, my years are so thrown off from the pandemic. From playoff contention because they beat them in the play-in. 2022, we matched up in the semifinals. We're not going to talk about Ja Morant getting injured. Would we have won if Ja Morant played? Maybe. Would we have lost? Maybe. Same difference. They beat us last year 4-2 and went on to win a championship once again. History repeats itself in the weirdest ways. It's become the Draymond Green, Dillon Brooks showdown. If you tune in any of the HoopSpaces episodes throughout the week, you'll know about a week or two. Me, Chris, and JP the Franchise. Shout out to JP the Franchise and Chris. We've kind of embodied this as like a WWE experience.
You can hate me now, QB, but I won't stop now.
Like, Dillon Brooks is the heel. The Grizzlies are within their own kind of like trying to take the belt from the Warriors.
I got a really big team, and they need some really big rings.
But Dillon Brooks and Draymond Green have been the main showcase. Obviously, similar players in terms of defensive play style. Both pests. They both look to get in your head. They both capitalize off getting in your head. So what started all of this is essentially Dillon Brooks was being interviewed by ESPN. Of course, they asked him about the Warriors, more specifically Draymond Green. And in Dillon Brooks fashion, he basically said exactly what was on his mind. I'll like put the quotes around here somewhere. Long story short, basically just said he's not a fan of Draymond, not a fan of the Warriors, and said what he had to say. You'll be able to see the quote somewhere up here, and gain what you would like from it. As Dillon Brooks does in his fashion, Draymond Green took it upon himself on his podcast. He just kind of put his 2 cents in about Dillon.
This idiot said, I don't know what Draymond does out there. He said, I don't like Draymond at all.
Basically just kind of said the same stuff about Dillon that Dillon said about him. So then after Draymond takes to his podcast, of course, he does it like a day or two before the Grizzlies play the Warriors in Memphis. And Dillon Brooks, it's like this podcast ignited a fire in Dillon Brooks, or a bigger fire, because I'm pretty sure that man's always on fire. Grizzlies completely took care of the Warriors at home. I mean, not that in 2023 that's that impressive, despite the fact the Grizzlies are probably the best home team in the league, and the Warriors are probably the worst road team in the league. Team with expectation, because obviously like Rockets, Pistons, you're not really expecting anything there. Yeah, it's like Dillon Brooks definitely took it personal. Got in Draymond's face. I'll attach a clip. We really came out, Warriors, in traditional Warriors fashion, definitely made a couple runs. Cut the Grizzlies down quite a few times. The Grizzlies persevered, won by like 21. So, of course, me and my fiance ended up winning tickets to the second go-around of this matchup. Grizzlies completely took care of business. They just looked like the better team from the tip. Once again, the game was in Memphis, obviously. And Dillon Brooks, man, 7 of 10 from the floor on 70% shooting, 4 of 4 from 3. Held Curry at only 15 or 16 points on 5 of 15 shooting, I believe. So he was picking Curry up from full court every possession. The Warriors couldn't ever really find a flow. Jaren Jackson Jr., 31 points, had 4 blocks and I think 7 rebounds. I'll double check the stats. Since Ja's been out, we've been running a lot of offense through Jaren, and I don't think people realize how much potential he has and how well he's able to create his own shot, get to the basket, and really challenge defenses. He's obviously a defensive player of the year in my opinion. I know it's up in the air right now, but Jaren is great, man. On both sides of the floor, he's an amazing player. They had no answer for him or Dillon last night. Crazy, a lot of people worried about the Grizzlies when Ja went out, and I think if anything, it's made the team a lot better. Other people have had to step up. Obviously, when you have a player of Ja Morant's caliber, there's going to be times where you kind of rely on him and you're going to ride the horse until you can't anymore. But him being out has made everybody else kind of, establish their own identity, remember how they can play. Right before the playoffs, there's nothing better. Ja Morant should be back sometime this week. Well, I know he'll be back tomorrow, Monday. He'll at least be with the team. I'm assuming he'll sit on the bench for the game. But he should be back on the floor and in action by Friday. So, everybody playing on all cylinders. Steven Adams should be back for the playoffs as well. It's the best thing that could happen for the team because everybody else has just completely stepped up and has been playing amazing. Like, the team is literally firing right now. Besides the game last night, where do we stand? We are currently tied for second in the West. We secured our 43rd win of the season last night. Obviously, Brandon Clark's going to be out for some time. Torn Achilles. Unfortunately, he is major for us, especially when it comes to playoff minutes. He's a matchup nightmare for most teams. Going into the playoffs, though, rotations look great. Obviously, BC not being there is not going to be the most fun, but Xavier Tillman's been playing great ball. Shout out to X. There's not enough you can say about Xavier Tillman, man. He's been playing like an NBA backup. Like, he's been playing like a starting center most games. Very proud of him. Very proud of the progress he's made. It's nice, man. It's nice to see him really coming into himself. If you're outside of Memphis, Xavier Tillman does anything he can to just be on the floor. He's asked to go down in the hustle and get minutes to get better. He's not one of those guys that's sour when things don't go his way. Like, he literally will just completely embody any situation he's in and just be the biggest person he can. And it's paid off dividends because he's playing like a monster right now. Luke Kennard, trade deadline steal. Biggest steal? In my opinion, yes. Grizzlies fans have already donned him Nasty Nardo because he's just nasty. And in Memphis, you gotta have a more fitting name. Nothing's wrong with Luke Kennard, but man, if you're in Memphis, you're Nasty Nardo. And he's spraying it. He's spraying it. Like, he's exactly what we needed coming off the bench. And then when you think going into the playoffs, you have Ja Morant going to the basket, and wait, he's trapped. You have Desmond Bane on one corner, and you have Luke Kennard on another. It's not fun for other teams. It's gonna be a nightmare for a lot of other teams. We're looking good. Santi Aldama's playing great. David Roddy, your flowers are here. I gotta give you your flowers. David Roddy has completely stepped up. He's not even playing like a rookie. He's playing like a solid rotational piece. I know there was a lot of drama in trading a fan favorite for him at the beginning of the season. A lot of people weren't sold, but David Roddy, man, he's great. He's gonna be good for a long time. Hopefully, remaining with this organization. I have a lot of confidence going into the playoffs. It was rocky for a minute, but obviously you still expect the best. But very reassuring basketball, especially with having your leader go out and the team gelling together and becoming just this unit. And Memphis loves the hate too. People really don't like this team, and we just feed off of it. So going into the playoffs, see what happens. We have about 3 weeks before playoff basketball starts. Grizzlies have a pretty easy home stretch. Nuggets have been dropping a few games, and we'll see what Sacramento does. There's still a chance Memphis could take the #1 seed. It's not impossible. To me, seeding doesn't matter. I feel like this team is good enough to play and hang with anybody, so we'll see what happens. But that being said, appreciate y'all tuning in. It's just a quick little pod to kind of catch up. A lot of stuff's happened. I don't want to focus too much on any part of it, but yeah, appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all next time, and thanks for tuning in to Gettin Grizzly With It, or like Chris says, keeping it grizzly. We're keeping it grizzly today, so hey, shout out Big 12.